Hey everybody, I am going to do a video for you today that introduces an assignment I'm going to post on Canvas. Remember, this will be an optional assignment. It can increase your grade, but it won't hurt your grade. If you complete this assignment and turn it in, I will just add it to your points from third quarter to raise your grade, okay? So we're gonna, of course, start with guided breathing. So I want you to get into a spot where you're comfortable and you're relaxed. You're not slouching, but you're not rigid. I just want you to be relaxed. I like to put my feet on the floor and my hands like I'm holding a tiny little bird feather right here and my palms up. We're going to, let me turn up my volume so I can hear the cues. Okay, take a deep breath in. And let it out. In, out, 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 in, out. Okay, time's up. Now, I wanted to remind you guys that guided breathing can be useful in calming yourself. It can be useful in, bringing focus. And also, yesterday I had a really, really terrible headache, and I just sat back and tried to relax, and I did guided breathing, and it really helped with my headache pain. So keep that in mind, okay? Hey, so I am going to read a story today. I'm actually not going to read an actual Rudyard Kipling story because they're really lengthy. I'm going to read an adapted version. But these are really fun stories. They're called Just So Stories, and they explain things. Like how the rhinoceros got its, let's see, how the whale got his throat, how the camel got his hump, how the rhinoceros got his skin, how the leopard got his spots. These are really fun stories that explain things in nature. What I'm going to have you do is choose your own thing from nature and explain it just like these stories. It will be an optional assignment on Canvas. For example, people have written, let's see, how the tiger got its stripes, how the snake lost its legs, just things like that. They're not true. You are making up a fun story. I'm going to read to you today how the elephant got his trunk. I really like this one. I like elephants, and it's one of my favorite stories from this collection. So I'm going to read it to you today, and then I will post the assignment on Canvas, and you can do it if you feel like it. It's just a fun writing assignment, okay? How did the giraffe get his long neck, and the porcupine her 30,000 black and white painted quills, or the pangolin his scaly, unusual body? Africa is full of strange and quirky creatures, and for those of you with an imagination, there's a weird and wonderful story for each of our beautifully bizarre animals. In the words of the man who wrote the Jungle Book, Rudyard Kipling, this is the story of how the elephant got his trunk. Now, this has slight modifications for an easier read. Legend has it that the elephant never used to have a trunk. Instead, he had a blackish, bulgy nose as big as a boot that he could wriggle about from side to side. He couldn't pick up anything with his useless nose. But one day there was a new elephant. An elephant's child was born. He was different in the way that he had an insatiable curiosity. He wondered why the ostrich's tail feathers were just so, and the giraffe why he had spotty skin. Next, he asked the hippopotamus why her eyes were red. And so the elephant's child continued to worry all the animals with countless questions. He asked questions about everything that he saw or heard or felt or smelled or touched. The most frustrating unknown for this elephant child was the mysterious question, what does the crocodile have for dinner? He finally stumbled across a colocolo bird who said with a mournful cry, "Go to the banks of the great gray-green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, and find out." And so the elephant's child set off, taking with him 100 pounds of bananas, the little red short kind, and 100 pounds of sugar cane, the long purple kind, and 7 melons, the green crackly kind. As he went eating melons, he threw the rind about with his useless nose. Finally, he made it to the banks of the great gray-green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about the fever trees, precisely as the colocolo bird had said. Bear in mind that till that very week, and day, and hour, and minute, the elephant's child had never seen a crocodile. And finally he asked an unknown creature, the crocodile himself, the question which he hoped to finally relieve himself of. What does the crocodile have for dinner? The crocodile winked one eye as the elephant's child came closer. He put his head down close to the crocodile's musky, tusky mouth, and the crocodile caught him by his little nose and said between his teeth, "I think today I will begin with an elephant's child." The elephant sat back on his haunches and pulled and pulled and pulled against the crocodile's tug. His nose began to stretch and stretch. The crocodile threshed his tail like an oar, and he pulled and pulled and pulled, and at each pull the elephant's child's nose grew longer and longer, and it hurt. Eventually, the crocodile let go of the elephant's nose with a plop that you could hear all up and down the Limpopo River. The elephant's child waited 3 days for his trunk to shrink, but it never grew any shorter, and besides, it made him squint. At the end of the 3rd day, a fly stung him on his shoulder, and before he knew it, he lifted up his trunk, and that fly was dead. Vantage 1. He plucked large bundles of grass and stuffed them into his mouth. Vantage 2. He then slooped up a sloop of mud from the banks and slapped it on his head, where it made a cool, sloopy, sloshy mud cap all trickly behind his ears. Vantage 3. And so, with the many vantages provided by this extended trunk, elephants never missed their old blackish, bulgy noses as big as a boot that they could wriggle about from side to side. So you can, that's just a fun story that explains something in nature. No, it is not true. It's just a creative writing thing. So that's your next assignment that I'm going to put on Canvas. Again, it's optional. It's supplemental. It can help your grade, and you get to explain something in nature. I will put an assignment and an example on Canvas, okay? All right, guys, take care. I miss you. I'll see some of you on Zoom today. I love to do that. If you haven't been joining us on our Zooms, please do, and take care of yourselves, okay? Bye-bye.